Many families notice small changes and dismiss them without a second thought. Your mother forgets where she parked the car again. Your father asks the same question several times in a short conversation. Most people quietly tell themselves the same thing. This is just aging. This happens to everyone eventually. I want to gently invite you to pause for a moment. Sometimes these small moments are not random. Sometimes they are early signals the body is sending, and when these signals are noticed early enough, there may be ways to slow down further changes and protect quality of life. Today I want to share 8 early warning signs linked to vascular-related cognitive decline that many people over 60 and their families often overlook. Not because they do not care, but because the signs can be subtle and easy to explain away. What surprised me most when I studied this topic is how often these early signs are missed for months or even years. By the time families seek professional advice, changes in the brain have already progressed further than necessary. This video is meant to increase awareness, not to diagnose. Only a qualified medical professional can evaluate what is truly happening. These signs on their own do not confirm anything, but they are important enough that they deserve attention. If you notice several of these patterns appearing together, it is wise to speak with a healthcare professional and request a thorough evaluation. Let us begin with a sign that many families notice only in hindsight. Sign number 8. Sudden difficulty with planning or organizing familiar tasks. This is not about occasionally forgetting an appointment or misplacing keys. This sign shows up as a sudden change in the ability to plan or organize tasks that someone has done comfortably for many years. Imagine this situation. For decades, your father has prepared the same Sunday breakfast. He knows the routine by heart. Everything flows naturally and in the same order every week. Then one morning, something feels different. He stands in the kitchen, looking uncertain. The eggs overcook while the toast stays untouched. The coffee never gets started. He appears confused by a routine that once felt automatic. This kind of change can signal a shift in what specialists call executive function. Executive function helps the brain organize steps, manage sequences, and move smoothly from one task to another. When blood flow to certain areas of the brain becomes less efficient, these abilities can change suddenly rather than gradually. One key detail here is timing. In vascular-related cognitive decline, abilities may shift in noticeable steps rather than slowly fading over many years. A person may function normally, then after a vascular event in the brain, certain skills may suddenly feel harder than they were before. What makes this sign easy to miss is how families respond with kindness. Loved ones naturally step in to help. They organize medications, they manage schedules, they take over bills and planning. This support is loving, but it can also hide an important signal that deserves attention. If you notice that someone suddenly struggles with tasks they previously handled easily, I recommend documenting specific examples. Write down what changed and when it started. This information can be very helpful during a medical evaluation. Early attention can make a meaningful difference. Sign number 7. Increased confusion or disorientation. In the evening, this pattern often appears quietly and is frequently dismissed as simple tiredness. During the day, everything seems fine. Conversation flows normally. Details are remembered clearly. Then, as evening approaches, something shifts. The person becomes confused about the day or time. They ask if dinner has already happened. They may feel unsure about where they are, or believe they need to go somewhere urgently. This is not typical fatigue. There is a specific pattern where cognitive clarity decreases later in the day. Reduced light, mental fatigue, and changes in brain blood flow can all contribute to this shift. As the day progresses, the brain naturally works harder with fewer reserves. If a blood flow is already compromised in certain areas, confusion may become more noticeable in the evening hours. Another factor is lighting. Daylight provides visual cues that help the brain stay oriented. When those cues fade, the brain has to work harder to stay grounded. This sign is important because it often appears earlier than many other changes. Families frequently tell themselves that better rest will solve it. But when evening confusion appears repeatedly, it deserves professional attention. I recommend keeping a simple diary for a couple of weeks. Note the time confusion appears, what seems to trigger it, and how long it lasts. This information helps professionals understand patterns and guide next steps. Sign number 6. Subtle changes in walking or balance. This is the sign almost everyone overlooks. Most people do not connect movement with brain health. But the way someone walks can reveal important information about how the brain is functioning. Walking is not automatic. It requires coordination, balance, visual processing, and planning all at once. When blood flow to movement-related areas of the brain becomes less efficient, walking can change before memory issues become obvious. Here is what these changes often look like. Steps become shorter. Walking speed slows, especially when talking or thinking at the same time. The person may shuffle slightly instead of lifting their feet clearly. Turning or changing direction feels less steady. Stepping off curbs or through doorways causes hesitation. These changes are often attributed to aging or joint discomfort, and sometimes those explanations are correct. But when walking changes appear alongside thinking or memory shifts, they deserve careful evaluation. One particularly telling pattern is difficulty doing two things at once. If someone struggles to walk while talking or thinking, it may signal that the brain is working harder than before to manage simple tasks. If you notice this, I recommend scheduling a full evaluation that includes both cognitive and neurological assessment. Walking changes should not automatically be dismissed as normal aging. В следующем сообщении продолжу sign number 5 through sign number 3 с тем же уровнем детализации и удержания, постепенно наращивая объем под 40 минут. Продолжай, продолжаю. Part 2. Sign number 5. Difficulty following conversations or television stories. This sign often shows up quietly in everyday moments. Your father sits watching a program he has followed for years. The characters are familiar, the format has not changed. Yet suddenly he asks what is happening. Who is that person? Why are they doing this? You explain calmly. A few minutes later the same questions return. This is not about hearing, it is about processing and holding information. To follow a conversation or a story, the brain must temporarily hold several pieces of information at once. What was just said, who said it, why it matters, what comes next. This ability is sometimes called working memory. Think of it as the brain's mental notepad. When vascular changes affect certain brain areas, this system becomes less reliable. The person hears the words clearly but cannot hold them long enough to connect meaning. This is why conversations with several people become exhausting, why background noise feels overwhelming, why television plots suddenly feel confusing. Many people respond by withdrawing quietly. They speak less. They avoid group conversations. Families often misunderstand this shift. They may think their loved one is losing interest or becoming withdrawn by choice. If you notice this pattern, I recommend simplifying important conversations. Reduce background noise. Speak one person at a time. Keep ideas clear and focused. Most importantly, request a cognitive evaluation. Processing difficulties are meaningful signals that deserve professional attention. Sign number 4. Difficulty judging distance and space. This sign surprises many people because it appears unrelated to thinking or memory. A person reaches for a cup and misjudges the distance. They bump into door frames they once navigated easily. Parking becomes stressful. Stairs feel less predictable. Their eyes may see clearly. Vision tests may appear normal. The challenge lies in how the brain interprets visual information. The brain combines signals from multiple areas to create a three-dimensional sense of space. When blood flow to these regions is disrupted, depth perception and spatial awareness can change. This can increase the risk of falls and accidents. What makes this sign particularly concerning is that the person often does not realize anything is wrong. They feel confident in their movements even when accuracy has changed. Family members may notice more spills, more small bumps, more difficulty with tasks that require precise hand movement. These are not random changes. They deserve evaluation. If caught early, professionals can address underlying vascular factors and recommend strategies to improve safety and reduce risk. Sign number 3. Sudden difficulty finding the right words. Everyone searches for words sometimes. That is normal. This sign follows a different pattern. The person begins speaking clearly, then suddenly stops. They know what they want to say, but the word will not come. They may substitute related words. They may describe objects instead of naming them. This can happen several times in one conversation. What makes this different from normal word searching is how sudden and inconsistent it can be. One day, speech feels normal. The next day, it feels effortful. These changes can be frustrating for the person experiencing them. Many feel embarrassed and begin speaking less to avoid drawing attention. Families often respond by finishing sentences. This feels helpful, but it can increase frustration. I recommend allowing time for words to come naturally. Gently note how often this occurs and bring those observations to a medical appointment. Language changes can provide important clues about which brain areas may be affected. В следующем сообщении продолжу sign number 2. Sign number 1 и заключительную часть, расширяя повествование, рекомендации и удержания, чтобы общий текст соответствовал 40 минутам озвучки. Продолжай, продолжаю. Part 3. Sign number 2. Sudden emotional changes or reduced emotional control. This sign can be one of the hardest for families to understand. A person who was calm and steady for decades suddenly reacts strongly to small events. Tears appear without a clear reason. Irritation shows up faster than before. Laughter may come at moments that do not match the situation. These reactions are not intentional. They are not character flaws. They are not a choice. Emotional balance is regulated by specific areas of the brain. When blood flow in these regions becomes less stable, emotional responses may become harder to regulate. What once felt like mild frustration may suddenly feel overwhelming. A touching scene may trigger strong sadness that lingers longer than expected. In other moments, emotional responses may seem muted or absent. This can be confusing and painful for families. It often feels personal, even though it is not. Many families assume these changes are caused by stress or relationship tension. They try to fix the situation emotionally without realizing the body may be sending a neurological signal. Here is what deserves attention. Mood changes that appear suddenly. Emotional reactions that seem stronger than the situation calls for. Shifts that come and go unpredictably. If emotional changes appear together with any of the other signs we have discussed, I strongly recommend seeking a professional evaluation. Support and appropriate guidance can make daily life easier for both the individual and their loved ones. Sign number 1. Sudden changes in bladder urgency without a clear cause. This is often the earliest sign. and the one almost no one connects to brain health. A person suddenly feels an urgent need to use the bathroom with very little warning. This may happen even when medical tests show no infection or physical bladder problem. This connection surprises many people, but it is important. The brain plays a key role in regulating bladder signals. When vascular changes affect areas responsible for control and timing, signals can become misinterpreted. The bladder may send urgency signals too early, or the brain may delay recognizing the signal until the last moment. Because this symptom feels physical, people often stop investigating once initial tests appear normal. The neurological connection may never be explored. If sudden bladder urgency appears alongside thinking, walking, or emotional changes, it deserves a more complete evaluation that includes cognitive assessment. What to do next? If you recognize several of these signs in yourself or someone you care about, I recommend taking calm and practical steps. First, write things down. Note what you observe, when it started, how often it appears, what seems to make it better or worse. This information gives professionals valuable context. Second, schedule an appointment with a primary care provider and ask for a thorough evaluation. Bring your notes with you. Third, request a complete assessment that looks at thinking, movement, and vascular health together. Do not accept quick explanations without proper evaluation. While waiting for appointments, it may help to focus on habits that support a healthy blood flow. Managing blood pressure, staying physically active within comfort, eating balanced meals, avoiding smoking. These steps support the brain as well as the body. It is important to remember that noticing one or two signs does not automatically mean something serious is happening. Many conditions can create similar patterns. Only professional evaluation can provide clarity, but recognizing these signals early gives people more options and more control over what comes next. В следующем сообщении сделаю Part 4, финальную часть «Плавное завершение», усиление доверия, удержание до конца и мягкий call to action, чтобы суммарно текст соответствовал примерно 40 минутам озвучки. Продолжаю. Part 4. Финальная часть. Before we finish, I want to slow things down for a moment. When people hear about cognitive changes later in life, fear often rushes in. That fear can cause avoidance. People tell themselves they will deal with it later, or they convince themselves nothing is really happening. I recommend a different approach. Think of these signs as information, not conclusions, not labels. Information gives you options. Vascular-related cognitive changes are different from many other age-related conditions in one important way. They are closely tied to blood flow and vessel health. That means there are areas where early action may help slow further changes and protect independence for longer. That is why noticing early signals matters. Not to alarm, not to panic, but to act with clarity. If you are watching this for yourself, pay attention gently. Notice patterns, not isolated moments. One difficult day means little. Repeated changes over time are what matter. If you are watching this for someone you love, remember this. These changes are not intentional. They are not laziness, stubbornness, or personality flaws. The body may simply be struggling to send clear signals. Compassion matters as much as awareness. Create calm environments. Reduce unnecessary pressure. Offer support without taking away dignity. Small adjustments in daily routines can reduce frustration and help everyone feel more grounded. I also recommend involving professionals sooner rather than later. Clear evaluation provides clarity. Clarity reduces fear, and fear is often more damaging than uncertainty itself. As we close, let me gently summarize the 8 signs we discussed. Sudden difficulty planning familiar tasks. increased confusion later in the day, changes in walking or balance, trouble following conversations or stories, difficulty judging space and distance, word-finding changes that appear suddenly, unexpected emotional shifts, unexplained bladder urgency. Seeing one of these alone does not mean anything definite. Seeing several together means it is time to pay closer attention. If this video helped you notice patterns you had not considered before, I invite you to reflect quietly. You do not need to act immediately, but do not ignore what your intuition is telling you. Awareness is the first step toward protecting quality of life. If you would like, you can share in the comments which of these signs surprised you most, or what questions you have. Your experience may help someone else feel less alone. Thank you for spending this time with me. We will continue sharing calm, thoughtful information designed to support people over 50 and those who care for them. If this style of content feels helpful to you, staying connected may bring you more clarity and confidence moving forward. Take care of yourself. And remember, paying attention early is one of the kindest things you can do for your future.